Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the witnesses for appearing. I thank the ranking member as well for her statements, and I'd like to associate myself with the statements of the ranking member. While I have really paid close attention to all of the testimony, and I appreciate what all of you have said, I do want to ask a few questions of just a few of you, and I hope that the others won't feel that somehow I'm slighting you in any way, because candidly speaking, I assume that all of you can give us additional credible testimony. But Mr. Ellis, you have indicated that you believe a short extension would be in our best interest if it must be extended at all. Is this correct?
Yes, Congressman.
And what I'd like for your colleagues on the panel to do is explain why they perceive a short extension to be something that is antithetical to our best interests. So let's start with Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, why would you oppose a short extension?
It causes unnecessary disruption to the marketplace. This is a wonderfully well thought out program. It's functioning extremely well. The longer we can renew it, the less disruption we have to the marketplace.
And let's go to, all right, Mr. Wu.
My opening statement in my testimony was that terrorism has become and will remain a catastrophe insurance risk. So I personally would recommend not just an extension for a finite period of time, but one without a specific time limit, simply because this issue is not one which will ever go away. Okay, so I do consider that some thought should be given to the whole issue, not just in the short or medium term, but indeed in the long term. And as Mr. Smith said, that for market stability, it's important that this whole issue of the backstop be addressed. And I'm speaking as someone who lives in England, where we have Pool Re, which has no finite term of limitation. That's because the terrorism risk in London is permanent. There will be terrorism risk in London for as long as one can consider. So my personal response to your question, Congressman, is that there should be serious consideration given for a long-term reauthorization of TRIA, and that's something which, to my mind, should be discussed.
I see that Ms. Abraham wants to respond, and I have another question.
We're in the business of taking risks. We understand that, but uncertainty in this is disruptive. It's difficult to plan a major construction project. It's difficult to plan a major program when you don't know whether these risks will be there and covered in the foreseeable future.
Do we find that we have some companies, let's call them mega companies, that would have serious concerns about locating in a country that does not provide this kind of insurance? Does this help us to attract business? Mr. Smith?
Oh, absolutely. You know, given the corporate governance that's in place today and all the enterprise risk management that's occurring at all these large corporations, they have a very sophisticated decision tree they go through as to where they're going to make their investments. We have a challenge here in our country because of our risk of terrorism. Without great coverage, it's going to be very difficult for us.
Let me do this with the remainder of my time. And Mr. Chairman, if you find that I go beyond the time that I have left, would you just kindly sound the gavel and I will cease and desist. But what I'd like to do is read the list of entities that are supportive of extending TRIA. And the list is rather long, but I think it's important to not only place these in the record, but for the American people to know what's actually in the record. So here's the list: the National Association of Realtors, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the American Gaming Association, the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, the Jewish Federations of North America, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. We have a joint letter from the National Sports Leagues and Organizations, the National Conference of Insurance Legislators, the National Conference of State Legislatures, the New Mexico Mutual or Entity, American Public Transportation Association, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, the Workers' Compensation Fund, the National Association of Mutual Insurance Companies, the National Association of Real Estate Investment Trusts, the Commercial Real Estate Development Association, the International Council of Shopping Centers, Inc., the Building Owners and Managers Association International, the Real Estate Roundtable, CRE Financial Council, the Real Estate Board of New York. I'll yield back the balance of my time.